Hey, good morning. My name is Joel. Thank you so much, Sam. It's great to be together again today, and thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you remember your time in school, or maybe you're at that age where you still are experiencing school or your university experiencing exams. Maybe for you, it's full of happy memories, or times of good friends and good times, or maybe it's not so good memories, not so happy experiences, or maybe some really awkward moments. Or maybe like me, it's a mix of both. But I do wonder, what was your favorite subject in school? And what I'd like you to do this morning, if you could please, just pop in the chat what your favorite subject in school was. I really enjoyed ancient history. Unfortunately, my teacher had a tendency to babble on. I also enjoyed studying philosophy. Unfortunately, I always got really low marks. Okay, that's it for the bad jokes this morning. Hey, no, I'd love to find out. Tell me, please, what were your favorite subjects in school? One thing that we all remember about school, whether it's something that we did years ago or something that we're doing at the moment, is the exams. When I was younger, it was a spelling test, and it was also sort of fill in the blanks. The math when I was younger was just like John had 2 apples, Sarah had 1 apple. How many apples are there in total? Those sorts of things. But as you get older, the exams get harder, and there's more and more questions, and it becomes more specific. And as you got older, you found out, oh my word, who knew there were so many different types of math, so many different types of sciences. I had exams even at university. I did performing arts and theology. I remember being assessed physically and being assessed on how you performed, being in a room with people sitting at desks, making notes while you poured your creative heart out. My exams didn't stop there. When I was in the professional field and worked in finance, I had regular exams. And these were to make sure that I was still qualified and capable to give advice and do my job. So every quarter I had exams in products and pensions and taxation. And I understand exams in the sense that we do need to know that someone's qualified, because if I'm going to the hospital and a surgeon is going to operate on me, you better believe I would rather have someone who has passed some exams and is capable and qualified for doing that job. But the other thing with exams is they always cause us to compare and compete. Now, we compare ourselves against others, or compare ourselves to a standard, and we compete against others. I remember as a 6 or 7-year-old winning prizes for being the smartest kid, if you like, in the class. I got top marks and awards for always doing really well on tests, and they made sense to me when I was that age. When I got a bit older, I dipped out of math and science, but when I was younger, I was sort of a top pupil, and I was being compared against a standard and essentially competing against others. And that kind of system can make you feel like the better you do, then the more valuable you are, or the more worthwhile you are, the more value you have as a person or in society. And if you happen to be that child who struggles, then you get labeled or categorized in rank order. We can think that our performance determines our value. This happens a lot, especially here in the West. Think about it. We do it academically. We do it financially. I mean, who's got the nicest house, the nicest cars, who goes on the nicest holidays? We do it on our social media feeds. We look at others' lives and we wish that our lives were like theirs. Or we put stuff out on social media that make our lives look better than they actually are. We do it with our looks. We, in the West especially, are obsessed with our appearance, and we rank one another against standards of beauty. We do it with our parenting. We put so much pressure on parents, especially think about all the pressure that's put on young mums and all the things that they've got to do and how they have to perform to such high standards. We do it in sport. The more athletic you are, the more valuable you are. We do it in religion. The more you serve, pray, read the holy texts, give money, keep the rules, the better you are. See, whether you believe in Jesus or not, you know that what I'm telling you is actually the truth. We live in a performance-based culture where we compare and compete to determine our value. Religion is really good at making people feel that it's all about performance. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been looking at how every religion has sacred places where special people require specific performances. If you've missed any of them, you can go back online and catch them on our channel. But sacred places such as temples or mosques, tabernacles or churches, where special people, usually men, like priests or shaman or gurus or imams, and they're the chosen ones. And these special people require specific performances from you to appease your God. And those who perform those tasks the best, the most often, the most accurate, are regarded as the most spiritual, the most faithful, the most holy, the most devout. They are like saints. You see, this is the way things were done and had been always done when Jesus arrived on the scene. He stepped into a system that operated this way. It was all about sacred places where special people require specific performances. And this isn't the way it's supposed to be anymore, because something happened because of Jesus. Something happened because of Jesus that absolutely destroyed this system. At the time of Jesus, there were loads of rules. I mean, loads of rules. And the rules were essentially a call to holiness. They were designed so that you could distinguish between good and evil, right and wrong, pure and defiled, or the sacred and the profane. There were rules on how you dressed, what you did during the day, what you didn't do during the day, what you did for health reasons, what you did when you ate. There was rules for rules. There was loads of rules. Now, the rules did make the Jewish people distinctive from everybody else. It set them apart from everyone else. And they had rules which affected all of their life, down to what you ate every day, as an example. There were strict dietary rules, which meant every time you sat down to eat, you had to make sure you were doing it in the right way to appease your God. And therefore, eating in and of itself becomes a ritual or a religious act. You even have to do that everyday ordinary act correctly. A simple meal is now being done in a way which has to follow the rules. This is partly why when you read the stories and the biographies, people writing about their firsthand experiences with Jesus, this is why it was so shocking when we read about the people that Jesus actually sat down to eat with and hang out with. Because in that culture at that time, if you ate with the wrong person, it made you unclean. You couldn't actually do that. And did you know that even if you ate unclean food yourself, it meant that you were therefore unclean and you were not allowed to even enter the sacred place? Now, the rules were a big deal. They affected you every single day. And they didn't just apply on a Tuesday afternoon when the sun was shining and the birds were singing. They applied every single day. Every moment of every day, you had to follow the rules. And the better you kept the rules, the more holy and devout and set apart you were. This specific performance mindset, it affected Jewish people thousands of years ago, but it also affected the early church. And this mindset affects us today. Maybe we look back on people that function this way and we think, oh, we would never do that kind of thing, but we do. It affects us today. It affected the early church. And there's this guy, Paul, who used to be a church hater, and he wanted to destroy the church. And he had this transforming, life-altering encounter with Jesus, which totally changed everything about the way he did things. And he went from a church hater to a church planter. And he writes this to this church that he started in Ephesus. It says this: "It is by grace that you have been saved through faith. It's not from you. It's a gift from God. It's not from your works, your performance. Otherwise, you just go around bragging about yourself. It's by grace that you've been saved. That's it. It's not because of my character or my kindness. It's not because of my skills or my abilities. It's not because I'm generous. It's not because of my ethics. It's not because I look out for others. It's not because I don't have any speeding tickets. It's not because I eat the right kind of food or don't drink too much. It's not because of anything I do or don't do. It's not because I give away a lot of money. It's not because I read the Bible every day and fast every 7 days. The only reason I have been saved is a gift of grace that I have got nothing in and of myself that I can boast or brag about. Now, essentially that means there's nothing in me that will ever be good enough to earn God's grace, because the gift has already been given and I don't have to perform to earn it. And it's really hard. It's really hard to get our heads around this, because this is so different to the way everything else in the world works. And it's so different to the way that things have worked for thousands of years. It's so different. Because we try so hard to make ourselves worthy. We still think that we have to do something. We have to earn God's approval or his favor and his love. And I'm going to suggest to you that we try to do this in two different ways. I want to call it the soap and the stick method. So the first is the soap method. Now, we think that because we're so messed up, we have to do everything that we can to try to clean ourselves. We get our mop and our buckets and the soap, and we scrub and we scrub and, we scrub some more, and we try to look spick and span. We try to look tidied up. We try to look presentable. We try to look correct. We do this to ourselves all the time, and we do this to others. We try to clean up our friends, and we try to clean up our spouse. We try to clean up our children. We try to do this in politics. We try to do this in culture and clean up corruptions, and we try to forcefully just wipe out hypocrisy in the church. We berate others in the process, and then we justify ourselves and call ourselves prophets. We've been prophetic just because we've made you feel so rubbish about how dirty you are. And if only we scrubbed harder and worked harder, then we'd get rid of all the junk in our lives, and we'd get rid of all the junk in the lives of people around us. The second method is this. Now, if you don't use the soap method, you use the stick method. Now, we get out our bats, because the best way to bring change is through punishment and pain. I need to suffer the consequences. You need to suffer the consequences. They need to suffer the consequences. Maybe I can just beat the junk out of you. Maybe I can hit myself hard enough or often enough to make myself change. Maybe doing that will just get rid of any pain or noise. Maybe I can beat it out of others. They step out of line, so let's get them back into line. So I'll punish them for it. That'll teach them. If only we enforced the rules harder and worked harder so we could get rid of all the junk in our lives and in the lives of others. I got to tell you something. These are so effective. These ways are actually really, really effective. They're really effective if you are a car. See, if your car's dirty, the soap method works really, really well. And if your car has a dent in it, it works really, really well to go see somebody who knows how to panel beat that car and get those dents out. See, the soap and the stick method is absolutely perfect. It's so perfect. And since you're a car, it'll work really well on you as well. See, the thing is, you and I, we're not cars. And the soap and the stick will never work on people. It just doesn't work. You are a person. These methods will never work on you. And you know this. You don't even have to be a follower of Jesus to know that what I'm telling you today is the truth. You know this. You know these methods don't work either because you've tried them for years and they haven't worked, or someone has done them to you. Maybe it was a parent or a school teacher or a friend, or you thought it was a friend, or a counselor or a spouse or a loved one or a grandparent. Somebody in your life held you down and tried to scrub you clean, or maybe they made you feel like they could only just beat you into shape. And you know what I'm telling you is true because you've experienced it. Or maybe, like many times in my life, this is how you've treated others, yourself. You know, as a parent of 4 children, it's easy to default into the soap or the stick method. It's easy to slip into a pattern of behavior which is really trying to use these types of things to fix or change other people. Now, Jesus dealt with the junk in our lives in a totally different way. Jesus did not come with the soap or the stick. Now, there's a word for junk in the Bible, which some people don't like. Some people say we shouldn't even use it in church. We shouldn't actually talk about it. And especially if you're watching this morning and you're sort of like just exploring Christianity and you're wondering about what it means to follow Jesus, we're said, oh, don't even say this word. You don't even talk about it. But we're going to talk about it. And we have to talk about it because it's real. And if we don't talk about it, I'm insulting your intelligence because you know that it's real. And the Bible calls junk sin. Oh, there's the S word. I've said it. Sin is the generic word in the Bible. It just refers to everything that's wrong and broken in the world. It's not a specific act in and of itself. It's the generic term that refers to everything that's broken and wrong with the world. You know, human beings are endlessly creative when it comes to hurting ourselves or hurting others. You know, we're so good at finding new ways to mistreat and abuse people. In spite of all of our achievements, in spite of all of our education, in spite of all of our developments and advancements in society or technology and education, we are still predisposed to hurt ourselves and hurt others. You know this is true because it's happened to you. You know this is true. Sin is the poison that ruins relationships. Sin is the junk that hurts others. You know this is true because you've experienced it yourself. Centuries of special performance, soap and sticks did nothing to deal with the real issue. So Jesus didn't come with a massive jet washer so he could spray you clean. He didn't come with a bat to beat you into submission. Soap and sticks only deal with the external. We needed something to deal with the heart. Jesus did something so radical. He dealt with the junk and the sin by becoming himself junk and sin. See, all the sin was placed on Jesus, who never did anything wrong, so that we could be made right with God. That's the way Paul wrote about it. Keeping the rules of sacred places where special people require specific performances was never, ever going to deal with the junk or the sin issue. See, you were created as a person. You are a person with feelings and intellect and emotions, a personality and a soul. Therefore, instead of more rules, we needed a person with feelings, intellect, emotions, personality, and a soul. It was a personal issue. It's not a process issue. You don't need more rules. It's a personal issue. So that's why Jesus came to earth as a human being. A person was needed to deal with a personal issue. That's why the early followers of Jesus believed he was more than just a nice teacher of good moral truths. They believed he was more than just someone who stood up for the outcast or spoke out against injustices. They knew he was something more. It was something so momentous that Jesus' life and death and resurrection destroyed thousands of years of tradition. Check out this letter that Paul wrote. It's in approximately about 63 AD, and it's written to this Greek guy named Titus. And Titus was a Greek church leader, and this is what Paul writes to Titus. He writes to him this. It says, you know, it wasn't long ago that we ourselves were just stupid and stubborn. You know, we were easily deceived and enslaved by all kinds of passions. We were good at being hated and good at hating others. But when the kindness and love of God, our Savior, appeared, he saved us. Not because of what we had done, but because of his mercy, he saved us. And washing us from the inside out by his Spirit, which he poured out generously through his Son Jesus. Now we are made right by grace. And this gift of God has restored our relationship with him and given us back our lives, an eternal life. Paul writes about this in another letter to a church in Ephesus. He says this, he says, God didn't lose his temper and do away with us, the stick. Instead, full of mercy and love, he embraced us. He took our sin-dead lives and he made us alive in him. He did this because of his grace alone and without any help from us. Jesus' friends and followers had actually seen with their own eyes. They were eyewitnesses to Jesus being put to death on the cross. They had seen their friend also come back to life. And that event changed everything. Coming back to life was the one event that made Jesus' death make sense. Otherwise, he would have just been some guy telling stories and performing miracles. He would not have had the impact that he had. This is the aftershock of Easter. This is the one event that shaped all of the early followers of Jesus. They didn't follow Jesus because they believed the earth was created in 7 days. They didn't follow Jesus because they thought some guy Noah put a bunch of animals on the ark to save the world from a flood. They didn't follow Jesus because there was no more suffering in the world. They didn't follow Jesus because their lives were made perfect. They believed Jesus because of this one event, this one moment. He predicted his own death and resurrection and pulled it off. That's it. As we get ready, as we close this morning, I want you to recognize that because Jesus came back to life, we have to rethink everything. This movement should have stopped dead in its tracks. Except it didn't. It kept going. It keeps going. I don't know your story. Maybe your experience of church or followers of Jesus has felt more like you were an outsider. More like a place where sacred places where special people require specific performances. I'm sorry if you've ever been made to feel like that. That maybe somehow you're not good enough or that you have to do more. Maybe you've tried the soap and the sticks and it's not working. And you need something else. And no matter how hard you try, you'll never be good enough to earn God's grace. But that's the point. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be good enough. No matter how hard any of us try, we will never be good enough. It's a gift of grace. It's a gift of grace. It is by grace that you have been saved through faith. It's not from you. It's a gift from God. It's not by our own works and our performance. Otherwise, we'd brag about the things that we've done for ourselves. And the thing about a gift is you have to accept it and open it. I could offer you a gift. I could give you a gift. But you don't have to take it. You can choose to just leave it on the side. You could choose to do nothing with it. You can choose to leave it unopened. Or you can accept it. And Jesus doesn't insult your intelligence, and he never violates your will. That's why you're never forced to comply. You're only invited to participate. It's a gift that's offered. You can choose to take it or not. It's your choice. You have to recognize that we've done nothing to earn this gift. Easter reminds us that there are no sacred places where special people require specific performances. It's all a gift. If you accept this gift, it will change your life. It will change the way you think. It will bring about a whole new way of living and loving. It will change the way you treat others. What will you do differently today? If you're watching this live and you'd like to pray with us, or if you have any questions about faith, please put something in the chat. We've got people waiting and ready to respond and get in touch with you. And if you're watching this on demand, you can contact us through the website. Contact us at nlcletchworth.co.uk. Get in touch, and we'd love to partner with you. Jesus loves you. He gave his life for you. His life is a once-for-all gift. You don't have to approach with fear. He has made the way wide open, and you're not forced to comply, simply invited to participate. Maybe this is the first time that you've ever heard about what Jesus does for you. Or maybe for whatever reason, you've walked away and you're slowly making your way back to Jesus. As we worship together, I pray that you would know a sense of God's presence right with you, wherever you are. Jesus has made the way open for you, and he invites you to meet with him right here, right now. As we come to a close this morning, we're going to sing a song of worship. The words of this song talk about what Jesus has done and the transformation that he brings to our lives. Let's worship together now.
I searched the world, but you couldn't fill me. Mountains to praise and treasures to fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. Every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen it all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. And there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Amen.
Okay, thank you so much, Joel, and the amazing music team for all that's been prepared and shared with us on the live stream this morning. Of course, you can always rewatch the live stream on demand, and the edited version comes out later in the week. If you haven't already, I just ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This isn't so we're going to become YouTube superstars and start earning millions from ad revenue, but it really helps us to know the engagement with the content that we are creating, and also it just works the YouTube algorithms to put God-filled and good news-centered content in front of more people on the platform. So please do subscribe. That will really help promote these messages. If you've been moved or touched in any way this morning, please do get in contact with us. You can do that via our website, nlcletchworth.co.uk. We'd love to connect with you and continue this adventure of faith-filled life together. Also, if you know anyone who would really benefit from listening to perhaps this message or any of the other messages or songs that have been played as part of our live streams, then take a look around on the channel and do share those videos with friends and family. Well, it's nearly time to wrap up, but it doesn't all stop now. Richard is waiting in the foyer, our digital meeting place, which is on Zoom directly after we finish now. The Zoom code should be coming up on the screen, and they'll be on for a short while after the stream has ended. But I really encourage you just to connect, see some real faces, at least as real as we can at the moment. So that's Zoom, the foyer, starting in just a few moments. And everybody is welcome, whether it's your first time, your 10th time, your 100th or 1000th time joining us this morning. Well, that's all for this week. Take care. I pray that God blesses you, that you find those moments again in this coming week for stillness and quiet, to hear God's still small voice. Have a great week, and we'll join you again next Sunday at 10:20 for our main service live stream.